Hello, everyone. I am so excited for today's conversation because we have a special guest. So, before I make some introductions, let me talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today and who I am, then who our guest is. I'm Deborah Boggs, CEO of DNS Executive Career Management. We work with senior leaders, typically C-level leaders and board candidates, to navigate and land their next big thing. So we're not recruiters, we don't do placements, but we're like the home stagers to make a luxury property look expensive before it goes on the market, shorten time on the market, increase final offers. So joining me today is Matilda Song Cole. She is our lead executive coach, and she works with nearly all of our clients to navigate their job search, show up strong in interviews, open more doors to opportunities, things like that. So welcome, Matilda.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and a little bit about Matilda and why she has joined our call today. So she has been with us over 4 years, actually. Started as a resume writer with our firm, she's now our lead coach. And she brings over 20 years of experience as an executive recruiter inside Fortune 500s, PE firms, and some of the largest tech companies. She's also a certified power user of LinkedIn Recruiter, and she's got experience with multiple AI platforms and ATS systems. She now uses that insider knowledge every day to help our C-suite executive clients and board candidates stand out, get noticed, and land the roles they deserve. So help me welcome Matilda for her first LinkedIn Live.
Thank you so much. Wow, to hear that all at once.
You bring such a wealth of information for our clients. And while we get started here, because Matilda's going to be sharing some of her insider tips for not only what she looked for as a recruiter, but also what she does with our clients to help them stand out as well. So while we get started, please pop in the chat where you're joining us from. We'd love to know where you're all at and who's with us. It's always good to see who's joining us. Alan Wohan is joining us from Wisconsin. He is our lead writer. Hi, Alan.
Hi, Alan.
And so, real quick, let's start with, as a recruiter, when you were evaluating candidates, whether it's the resume or the LinkedIn profile, what is going through your mind in the first 10 seconds of evaluating a candidate?
Well, before we start recruiting, the recruiter's goal is we've already partnered with the hiring manager and interviewed them and gotten a really strong sense, hopefully, of what they're looking for, right? So
Yeah.
immediately we're looking for what their top criteria might be. So, for example, it could be they want experience in the industry. They may want an MBA or someone with a graduate degree, or that could be addressed as a nice to have. I'm looking for titles. I'm looking for, so for example, if they've said they want someone who's been an SVP or a COO of a PE portfolio company, ideally with an MBA in device manufacturing, medical device manufacturing, then those are the criteria that I'm looking for. And it's going to be tied into like execution of strategy.
Yeah.
Leadership, like for example, P&L, budget, team size, those things. Their functional expertise. Are they a finance person, marketing? What are we looking for them to do? And then an important piece of that is metrics. Can I see that they have evidence that they've been good at this, right? Like actual delivery. So the first thing I'm going to do as a recruiter is look into my internal network, like especially if I'm an external headhunter or a search firm, then I have been cultivating relationships for a while.
Right.
So I'm going to look into my database and who I know, and those are the people that I'm going to reach out to first. And then I'm going to start recruiting and seeing who I might not know yet and start assessing their qualifications. But yeah, the main thing is I'm matching their criteria to what the hiring manager wants.
You bring up such a great point. I'd like to push on a little bit. And hi, Gina in Long Island. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us. you bring up a great point that a lot of people don't understand, I feel like, is that a recruiter is really working with the hiring manager's criteria, right? You're not able to really go find out of the box candidates because that's not what you're hired to do. That's not what you're being paid to do, right? You're being paid to bring candidates with apples to apples experience for what that hiring manager is looking for. And that's a really great point because I find a lot of executives will go first to recruiters trying to hopefully have someone place them, right? But that's not how it works. Recruiters don't work for candidates, and I know you know this. But the other thing is if you're looking for a big career shift, recruiters are not your best bet for opening doors to opportunities. And it doesn't mean that you're not a qualified candidate. It just means that that's not the right job search channel for you. And you need to look into other ways to open those doors, which I know you do with our clients quite a bit when you work on job search strategy. But the other thing I think is really interesting is you said not just metrics, but also the context and scope of your work, team size, P&L size, company. We can't just hop into accomplishments without giving a little bit of context and story, which I think is really interesting.
Exactly. And that's what like Alan and your team does really well is bringing those out. Because if I have to dig to find information on a resume, I'm not going to take the time to do that. I have 200 other ones to go through.
Yes, this is a good point. We can't make it hard on people to see our value, right? And the our major accomplishments and things like that if we put up too much information.
Mm-hmm. And something else that's tied to that, just really quick, is if let's say they are looking for an MBA, but you don't have an MBA, so you may rank a little bit lower on my priority list. But if you can translate your education, or maybe you took coursework toward an MBA, or maybe it was internal strategic partnership program for leadership. Who knows what it was, but keep that in mind. Too many times people leave things off of their resume that they might need to reconsider.
That's such a great point. There are other things that we can use to show our expertise in different areas or our training or things like that sometimes fall off the resume that are really, really important, and certainly more important than maybe, for space wise than job description information from 15 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are things to definitely include. I'm going to pop up the hi, James Gardner, for joining us. Good to see you. And Mr. Bott in where are you at? In India. Thanks for joining us as well. So I'm going to pull up real quick. If you're in a job search and you're feeling like it's stalling, or you're not sure why you're not getting as far as you'd like to, or what may be holding you back, this is a quick free 2-minute assessment to really understand the 7 critical areas to an effective executive job search and where you may be showing up really strong and where may be holding you back or costing you offers. So I'm going to leave this up for just a moment while we move to the next question from Matilda, which is something that I think is super interesting right now, especially, is what happens. You've got your resume, you're applying to things online. What happens to that resume? What's going on?
Okay, so almost every employer now uses some sort of technology-based vetting system. A lot of them are AI driven now. We call them ATS, applicant tracking systems. So the ATS system, when a recruiter opens up their ATS screen, they see 200 resumes applied, or 200 resumes came in overnight. There's no way they're going to look at 200 resumes. What they're going to do is sort it by percentage match, or AI is going to do it for them. And that matching is done by the criteria that the recruiter has put into the system. So typically they upload a job description, depending on how good that job description is or how specific it is. Then they're going to actually enter must-haves, nice-to-haves, special keywords, or special. They can even put would love to hire someone from their competitor, and they name the companies that they want to pull from. So depending on whatever the criteria that the recruiter has inputted into applicant tracking system is how they're going to be ranked. So the higher your resume or your LinkedIn profile is going to connect with what they're looking for, the
Mhm.
higher up you're going to rank. And then what I would do is start from 100% match. There sometimes a few of them, sometimes zero, and then work my way down, making initial phone calls or initial outreach to schedule some phone screenings. And then once I've lined up a handful, then I stop and I move on. So if that takes me to the 85th percentile, then anyone ranked below that, I'm not even going to see. Human eyes aren't even going to uh, see their profile. So it is possible that your ranking is too low to even get human eyes on it. This is why it's really important to have a strategy that is not just based on application, click and hit enter and that's it. You need to have a deeper strategy that involves like reaching out to the hiring managers or the recruiter when applicable or whatever. It's going to take like a multifaceted approach to really make sure that you're being seen.
I could not agree with you more. This multifaceted approach is so incredibly important and something that, we're not, that is becoming even more important because, and I know we've talked about this on a recent LinkedIn Live, but Michelle and I recently went to the SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management Talent Conference. And what's happening, what we thought was really interesting is that with AI on both sides of the hiring process now, with candidates using AI to write resumes that perfectly match the job descriptions, everyone's resume looks the same. And then AI on the hiring side is then summarizing all those resumes that all look the same and say the same thing. And because there's AI bots that will, or agents that will apply for you, they're getting inundated with exponentially more resumes than they had before. And so this means that the computers are talking to the computers and everyone looks exactly the same. And now no one's standing out and there's 500 more applications to go through. And so what's happening from a candidate perspective is there's no way you're going to win that game.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. And when you do get an interview, you're up against candidates that also have 100% or 90 or 85% of the criteria. So, there are definitely other ways to go about your job search, especially at the senior levels, that don't include this constant hamster wheel of online applications. And I know that's something that you work with our clients on of what, how else are you finding opportunities and how are you opening doors?
Yes, it's so frustrating from a recruiting perspective to get a page fulls of resumes that look exactly the same. And I think
Mhm.
that's a big mistake that people are just only using AI to build their resumes because everyone's getting the same result. So you have to know like how to position you and your differentiator, your unique value to
Yep.
really catch the attention of the recruiter or the hiring manager, so that you don't come across as like that ticky-tacky same as everyone else kind of um, candidate.
Yeah.
So that's why I really, really suggest that whenever there's a position online, and granted, not a lot of positions at like, especially the SVPC level are going to be advertised because
Exactly.
companies don't want to advertise that they have a C-level person vacant, or maybe
It's a really
they
good
have a
point.
good succession plan, right? And that's embarrassing to a company. So most of them use external recruiters or they prioritize internal referrals through
Mhm.
their employees. And so the best, fastest, easiest, most direct way is going to be through someone you know. And if you don't know someone, then there are ways to build inroads and connections so that you can at least be part of their maybe not inner circle, but second tier circle.
Yes. And that second tier circle is really important because, I think we all look at our networks and say, well, I don't know the right people, or I don't have people that can open doors for me. And really, it's those second and third degree connections that are most powerful in terms of opening doors for these kinds of opportunities. So we don't want to we don't want to second guess the power of asking in each networking conversation, who else should I know? Who should I be talking to?
Absolutely.
So, a little bit more about, I want to talk a little bit about what people what else people get wrong, especially when it comes to LinkedIn. Okay, so we know we shouldn't be using AI to write a resume perfect to the job description because it's going to look exactly like everyone else's. And that's the biggest mistake we're seeing in resumes right now. Is, quick sidebar, yes, AI can write your resume. And is having a resume the goal, or is getting a job the goal? So what we usually tell candidates that come to us and say, well, I used AI to write my resume. That's great. Is it getting you interviews? If it's not, we need to reevaluate. If it is, go ahead. But when we're looking at LinkedIn profiles, what are the biggest mistakes you see candidates make on LinkedIn?
So LinkedIn is one of the most powerful tools. I actually prefer LinkedIn. LinkedIn originally started as a job-focused platform and networking around jobs. For me, I find the most value in using it as a research tool to help supplement my job search strategy. So the important thing to think about when it comes to LinkedIn is, yes, your profile is going to look beautiful. You're going to fix it all up, but you can't forget your audience. Your audience, if your purpose is for job search, is going to be the recruiter, most likely using their platform, which is called LinkedIn Recruiter, that they paid a lot of money for. And right? So they're going to be on their platform searching for their ideal candidates with the criteria that they've inputted, and they're going to get pages of results. If everyone is kind of gaming their profile to have all the keywords and everything, then a lot of people are going to show that they match the criteria. So there are opportunities to differentiate yourself. An important one is the headline, and everyone knows the importance of headlines. But what you might not be thinking about is on the LinkedIn Recruiter platform, they can only see, unless they actually open up your profile, on their summary results, they only see the first few words of your headline. They see
that's interesting.
your most 3 recent roles. And then I think your picture and current job title and position pop up as well. But with that in mind, make sure you're structuring your headline to get to the point right away. Because if it's too vague, the first few words, then I don't know what a growth leader is, right? It could be a number of things. So use that critical real estate to differentiate yourself, get to the point, who you are, and don't look backward. LinkedIn is not for showing what you did in the past. LinkedIn should be future forward. So if you were an SVP of R&D and you want to become the head of R&D or the chief R&D officer, whatever, then you have to restructure your positioning in a way that reads C-level, whether or not you held the title.
That's such an interesting point. I would love to. I think there was so much gold in what you just said. I don't even know where to start. But the first is that headline. You're right. I mean, if we have results-oriented driver of blah 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 blah, you're not going to. They're not. So you're saying from the recruiter, this recruiter side, you're not seeing the rest of that headline. So we need to really get to the point fast. That's absolute gold advice. The other thing I want to kind of since James is listening, double click on. I learned that from him. Is the fact that you only see the most recent 3 roles, and this is something I want to talk about because I see so many people make the mistake of, okay, they had an SVP title or a VP or even a C-level title in their last role, but now they have a gap, and to fill that gap, they fill it with a bunch of random stuff that has nothing to do with the level of role they had, or maybe it's consulting or fractional, but it's not positioning them at the level they were at. And so if they have too many of those things, or maybe they're part of an organization, or they sit on an advisory board or something like that, but that's pushing down their most recent executive role. And so that's not even showing up then.
Exactly. This is a common mistake of people who've like maybe wrapped up their corporate position and they've transitioned into maybe consulting while they're looking for another full-time position, or maybe board work or whatever. And then
Right.
they decide, oh, I want to go back into corporate, into an in-house C-suite position, but all I see from a recruiter is you were an advisory board member here, you're a member of chief here, and then you're a
Mhm.
member of something else. And I have no idea where you worked in the majority of your career. So it's really important to make sure that your most impactful recent position shows up in the top 3. And there are other places you can put, like board work or you know, leadership, membership kind of uh,
Right.
positions.
And that's so important. I think it's important to remember the point of your LinkedIn profile then, right? And the audience we want to find us. And so if the point of your profile is to find another SVP or maybe go into a C-level role similar to what you had before, then we need to maybe remove some of those other things. But if you are looking for board seats or something like that, then we need to reposition it for that audience because the audience is going to be different. And so I'm going to pull up real quick. If you're in a job search and you're feeling like you're spinning your wheels or you're not landing as fast as you'd like, this is a QR code to a free assessment to help you see where things may be, going well and the areas in your search that may be holding you back or costing you offers. So I'm going to leave this up for just a moment while we talk about board candidates. So, our firm and you specifically work with a lot of people that are working either for their C-level or VP level careers, but also for corporate board directors and seats in the boardroom. So tell me a little bit about what you would suggest to a board candidate if they were going to reposition their LinkedIn profile from their executive career to a board seat.
Okay, that's really great that you use the word reposition, because that is basically what needs to happen. Otherwise, your LinkedIn profile is a great opportunity to position you for another C-level position or board roles, but you have to put that board candidate up at the top in your headline. But remember that the function of a board is different from a CEO or C-level position. It's governance over operational or executive leadership. It's oversight versus execution. Boards advise and protect enterprise value. So with boards, a recruiter might be looking for the ability to advise without operating. Your ability to challenge management constructively. So there's a
Right.
lot of that happens, right? Enterprise perspective. So a lot of it has to be enterprise oriented, the language, right? Everyone is really proud of what they've achieved in their executive career, but it may no longer be relevant to board positions. So you really have to stay high level with board work.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, another important one is your where you would fill in the gaps in a board composition matrix. So that's really important to think about, because it's not just about your qualifications, is how you complement other members of the board. So a really good exercise, if you are pursuing a specific board, is to look at their the website of their board makeup currently and see where you fit in. Because if they have someone else who's got your background, then maybe they don't need someone like you in that board.
Right. And these are really important. So these board skills matrices are typically listed by public companies, and you can get them in their SEC documents and their public information. But I think that, even if you're not looking for a public company board seat, going to companies that are in the same industry or have the same business model or go to market or have the same customer base, things like that are similar to the private companies you'd like to serve. Pulling these matrices really helps you see the skills that are important to that industry from a board perspective. So it gets a little bit in the weeds, and we can, happy to share more about that. I know you work directly with our clients when we're building out their board search strategies and documents and things like that. I know you do a lot of unique value work with our clients. But these are ways to kind of go a level deeper from just, not just being 30 years of experience as a CFO, where maybe everybody has that same impact, and where can you go a level deeper into what the board's specifically looking for. So that's such an important topic, and I'm glad you brought it up. And I love what you said about it's not execution. It's, what was the word you used?
Governance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, governance over execution is so important, that we're really kind of not getting in the weeds of I did this, I did that, but here's how you can advise at an enterprise level.
Exactly.
So as we kind of begin to wrap up here, if a candidate is thinking about their search, so say a client comes to you, I know this is something you do all the time, they've got their resume, they've got their LinkedIn profile, they're all set with their documentation. What is your advice for maybe beginning their search?
Beginning their search, I think, is strangely is more of a soft skill, is really gaining the confidence and preparation of what are you going to do next after you're invited to an interview. So preparing your key points of what you want to get across, because when you're in an interview, a lot of people don't know how to interview. They don't have good interviewer skills. So sometimes things get conversational, and you walk away thinking, oh, that was a nice person, but I don't know anything about them. So it's your job to put together maybe a list of 3 to 5 key points that you want to get across during the interview. Of course, tailored to your audience. What you say to
Yes.
HR is going to be different from what you say to your hiring manager.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure to weave that information in during your meeting. Find a way to make them walk away knowing the information you want them to know without ever having asked.
So important, because yeah, we can't always expect the recruiter to ask the questions we want them to ask to make sure that we're giving the value we want to give. And quick shameless plug on how amazing Matilda is. I was talking to a longtime client yesterday who has 3 offers on the table right now, and said that working with Matilda to come up with preparing for those conversations and preparing the kinds of questions to ask in the interview sealed the deal in all 3 opportunities. So preparing thoughtfully for these interviews really does matter. Well, thank you so much. Absolutely. Yeah. I know that, the work that you do is behind the scenes so often, but so incredibly critical for our senior leaders as they navigate their search, and really appreciate the wealth of background and understanding you bring to the process, that you're able to kind of shed light on what can be a really opaque process for a lot of people if they've never had to do it before.
Thanks, Deborah. You really do have like the best clients. I love the clients at DNS.
I do too. We get really lucky to help the most amazing people increase their impact in the world. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing this information. I'd love to hear in the chat what tip was meant for you today, what tip you're going to be able to use to immediately elevate your search. I'm going to pop this one up because Mr. Bott said, excellent points on the LinkedIn profiles. He didn't know about the 3 recent roles. You know what? I didn't either. And that was super interesting. And I'm really glad that Matilda shared that. So more on interviews next week. Michelle will be back with me, and we're going to dig into how to own the room in your executive interview. So if you're interested in that, reach out to us. We'll send you the link to RSVP. And if anyone wants to learn more about working directly with our team, and Matilda specifically, reach out to us. Carmen Poff put her link in the chat. You can learn more with Carmen Poff about how we can help you land faster. Thanks all.
Thank you.